Joining us now, Jim Fox. How are you doing today, Jim?
Doing great, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
So another season in the books, Jim, and we got our first round of exit interviews out of the way now. I'll ask you the same question I just asked Carrlyn, which is anything leap out to you immediately following those exit interviews?
Yeah, the first thing that leaps out to me is that I didn't see them.
Oh, I thought I heard you this morning.
Were you already golfing, Foxy? What were you doing?
No, it is honestly a decompressed day for me. Certainly no travel this year, but it's just kind of a traditional thing that happens for me normally. That the day after, came back last night, had a glass of champagne with Alex and Carrlyn and Susie. And that was about it. And then today is just kind of veg out and not do anything and not try to think about anything and just try to decompress from what happened for the season. So I obviously, like most of the media members, I do have the opportunity to go back and listen to them. But I took care of myself today.
All right. Well, shame on me for asking you a question I didn't know the answer to, Jim. So I'll ask you one that I think I do know the answer to. Drew Doughty said in his exit interview this morning that he felt the Kings needed to make improvements to the roster, but added that he didn't think it needed to be to the blue line and reiterated once again his desire to continue playing with Mikey Anderson. So I'll ask you where you think the Kings need to make the biggest improvement on this roster.
I think the biggest improvement on the roster needs to be a goal scorer. And if it doesn't come from the prospects immediately, which it might not, then that's what I think. To me, it was just certainly an offensive forward, an offensive-minded forward, hopefully a finisher, hopefully a goal scorer. But the first thing that came to mind, and it is kind of a recency bias issue, Nathan MacKinnon goes out of the lineup for Colorado, top 3 player in the league, and they don't miss a beat. And what was going through my mind was, what happens if Andre Kopitar gets out of the lineup? Who replaces him? Who steps up? Colorado has some depth there. I'm not saying, the moves the Kings will make this summer will make us the Colorado Avalanche. It's not going to happen that quickly. But I would say that's the one pressing need to me that stands out. And again, I think the prospect that has those capabilities is Kaliev. But, how ready he is, that's a whole thing. And I think Arthur is the type of player, this is my opinion, I haven't seen him play this year, other than the one game for the Kings, is that he needs to be put in a special, very unique spot. He needs people around him to make him better and make him be the shooter. And I'm reading reports and I'm hearing from people about how he's a great passer down in Ontario. You know what? Right now, I don't care if he makes another pass in his life. I need him to come and see what I see in practice, and that is shoot the puck. That's what I need from him. Now, NHL game compared to junior, there's going to be differences. He's going to have a difficult time finding openings and how to get open, all those things. But internally, we mentioned it post-game after the last game. Internally, the Kings have to improve, meaning players already on the roster have to improve, get better, get stronger. They're young as a group, so they need to mature a little bit and get into the man body and man strength, if that's what everyone's calling it. And at the same time, they do need help from the outside.
What were the biggest positives for you from this season? Obviously, we can point to all the negatives and disappointing moments, but what were the areas that you felt the team improved
on? The area of improvement for me was certainly the power play for half the season. And probably a little bit longer than half, just a touch more. Again, historically, Todd McClellan, when he coaches teams, their power plays are very strong, whether he's an assistant coach or a head coach. And I think that's just part of what he brings. Again, I think what happened, as we were just talking about the Kopitar situation or what the Kings need, when someone goes dry, then there's just not enough depth right now to make it happen. And when the power play went away, the season went away. That was it for me. The power play went dry and the season, it's over. But I thought the first half, again, the entries into the zone, as good as any team, setting up for whatever reason, and it happens. I think I can certainly tell you what happened. My job as an analyst is to tell you why. But the shot mentality was there earlier in the year, and it went away. And how that dries up and how that goes away and how your confidence and where you think the openings are change from one part of a season to the other. But I did think that was an improvement. And again, I know that the numbers were not good at the end. Obviously, I know. I watched it. But that was an improvement over past. Even the current ranking as they end the season was better than the past. I thought that they were doing a better job as far as a transition game, which is the key to up-tempo hockey, to the Colorado Avalanche, to the Vegas Golden Knights, to the Edmonton Oilers, to the Toronto Maple Leafs, to the teams, Carolina, how they headman the puck and they transition, create a turnover, go the other way quickly. I thought that was better. Still a long way to go. The play of young defensemen. I mean, it's encouraging. It's very encouraging to see. And I think two different types of defensemen who probably will come a little bit closer as they mature in their styles, and that is Bjornfoot and Anderson. I think Bjornfoot's a better skater, more active. Mikey seems to have a mind for shutting things down. He wants to get more offense into his game, and Toby wants to get more strength and defense into his game. So I think they will come together a little bit more as they mature. That stands out to me as the biggest positive. Youth who logged a lot of ice time, who in one-on-one situations this year were beat, but in the concept of the team and how they fit in, I think they did very well.
Foxy, going back to some of the offense that was missing, right? You can't have all your offense be produced on a power play. I'm going to walk you through a weird question here. Just bear with me. So having a guy like Anze Kopitar produce as many points as he does and lead the team in scoring, is that something that the younger players maybe will not hold back their own game, but you as a player, you were a rookie at one time. Do you kind of sit back and watch and wait your turn to also showcase your offensive prowess? Is that something that maybe even before an Arthur Kaliev comes up, are we going to see more forwards that are young and on the team currently that we saw this season kind of open up and roar, if you will? Does that make sense?
Well, I think the common thought process is that younger players defer to a player like Anze, meaning when they get on the ice, they're looking for him, looking to get him the puck, not necessarily playing their game because they're so worried about getting the puck to the top dog.
Right.
And again, it doesn't fit because Anze's not a shooter. So, if you want him to be the finisher and, you're always going to get the puck to him and, okay, he wants the puck. He will get the puck. He'll lug the puck, but you don't have to force it. But I think that does happen. Again, and we saw very interesting what happened to Gabe Vilardi this year. Real struggles with the confidence factor.
Right.
But when I had my read on him, and we did our role, skill, intangible when he came up last year and at the beginning of this year, the intangible I put was untapped confidence.
Right.
I think and this probably goes to what your question you was asking. Season's over now, so I can actually say it. Because I'm just so superstitious, I didn't want to say it at the time.
For sure.
If Anze Kopitar goes down with an injury, I think Gabe Vilardi becomes more confident because he is the top dog now. And I think it grows exponentially. We saw him hit the lows, which he'll work on. He will work on that. He'll talk to people. He'll talk to coaches. He'll talk to players. He'll work on making sure that low is not as low as it went. But I do still think in his, just by his personality, I think he has a confidence there, which you need to be the top dog.
Yeah, you saw a lot in him all season long. I loved your analysis on his growth.
By the time the Kings, I believe, are contenders again, Anze Kopitar will not be your number one centerman. So someone's going to have to take that torch.
Jim, I want to ask you another question about confidence, and it sort of applies to the team as a whole. One of the other things Drew Doughty said this morning was that Mikey Anderson was one of the three most vocal players in the locker room during intermissions. And he thought that was outstanding for a rookie to be that kind of a player. I'm curious if you would see that more as a positive, that Mikey Anderson has that confidence to take that role, or a negative that it's taking a rookie to fill that role.
Well, I think you have, in my opinion, the only other veteran that has been a king is Drew Doughty. Now you have Walker and you have Roy, who've been around.
Mm-hmm.
You have Big Mac, who's been around. But, Mata comes from the outside, kind of. So that doesn't surprise me. No, it doesn't. If Mikey Anderson walked into a locker room of Drew Doughty, Willie Mitchell, Rob Scuderi, Matt Green, and was the most vocal, then I'd be going, whoa, geez, what's going on here?
Right.
But I think it doesn't bother me at all. And I will go back just to the thing I said the first day I met Mikey Anderson. It was the most impressive first impression I have ever received from any hockey player I've ever dealt with.
Yeah, it's, I used to joke about Jack Campbell that if you said he was a great guy, you'd turn around and there'd be a line of people waiting to tell you how great he was. And the same thing applies to Mikey Anderson, right? You mention his leadership abilities and people start queuing up to tell you how he's going to wear a letter and what an impressive player he is. Carrlyn, anything left for Jim before we let him go today?
Foxy, what are you going to do during your summer? What's like the big plans for you?
Well, we have a lot of things to take care of. I will be working NHL radio, probably through the Western Conference Final at least.
Good for you.
Used to call it the Western Conference Final, through the semifinal this year. Perhaps getting some work in the final. That'll be determined later. So I will start to travel a little bit, which we haven't done in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a little bit weird. I'm not necessarily looking forward to that.
Right.
As far as the travel goes. We do have, my wine label, Patiné. I usually get more involved in the summertime with planning and doing tasting events, which probably will start up again, fairly soon with, fully vaccinated people in groups of, certain controlled areas and things of that sort, outdoors. So we'll do that. We usually take a pretty extended long trip to the desert. So it is Susie's birthday this year, and it is our 40th wedding anniversary this year.
Wow.
So we will be having a get together. Yeah. And then, as you know, my mom passed away earlier this season. So we will have a chance to probably in late August, early September, have a chance to go back to Canada and, get together with a family finally, because I know a lot of families who had that happen to them during COVID, you just don't have the opportunity to get together. So we hope that the travel restrictions to Canada will be lifted by then, and we'll get a chance to celebrate my mom's life as a family. So it's kind of busy when you think about it, and just keep my eye on the Kings. I on our Fox and Faust podcast, I did mention the other day, I do have a kind of a pit in my stomach. I do expect something. And Jesse and I, we've been talking, Carlyn, we've been talking. It's, the Kings are going to make a move. It's just the timing. And move could be a trade. It could be a free agent acquisition. It could be both. It could be one this year, one next year. It could be a whole bunch of different things. But I'll stay closer than normal, because I think there's going to be some news. Just have that feeling. I have not talked to Rob Blake about it. I have not talked to Luc Robitaille about it. This is just a feeling I have. So a lot of news hopefully coming up.
Well, Jim, we want to thank you for joining us. And we know that Kings fans everywhere offer you their thoughts and condolences to your mom. And of course, we wish you best of luck on the ice and on the vine this summer. Thanks very much, Jim.
My pleasure. Thanks very much. And I'm just going to go watch those exit interviews right now. So
sorry about that.
Thanks, Foxy.
Thanks, guys.